Dear colleagues, excellencies, we will now be resuming. Dear colleagues, if you can take back your seats, we can continue the session. Thank you very much. So I now invite the Assembly to turn to agenda item number 12, the Interministerial Dialogue on Renewable Energy for Agri-Food Systems. The Assembly has before it a background document with the same title, contained in document A/16/PN/5. This interministerial dialogue, convened by IRENA in partnership with FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, will provide an opportunity to highlight the key enablers of a just energy transition in the context of a transformation towards inclusive, sustainable, and resilient agri-food systems. This strategic exchange amongst ministers of energy and agriculture will catalyze political momentum and prioritize renewable energy within national agricultural and climate strategies and highlight emerging solutions and approaches for advancing productivity, resilience, and decarbonization objectives. I would now like to invite the Director General of IRENA to deliver his opening remarks. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to welcome you today to the Ministerial Dialogue on Scaling Renewable Energy in Agri-Food Systems, hosted by IRENA and our valued partner, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. We are pleased to have the FAO join us here at IRENA's 16th Assembly, and I would like to express my gratitude for their continued collaboration and partnership, which underscores the growing recognition that energy and agriculture must advance hand in hand. We meet at a critical moment. Agri-food systems are under immense pressure worldwide. They consume almost 30% of global energy and hold significant potential to reduce emissions. Yet millions of farmers, producers, and rural enterprises continue to operate without reliable or affordable power. Therefore, without closing the energy gap, we cannot secure food, advance climate action, or build the resilience communities need most. One reality is now undeniable. the energy transition and the transformation of agri-food systems are not separate agendas. They are intertwined and can advance shared goals. Distributed renewable energy is increasingly recognized as vital for food security and rural development. Likewise, coordinated action between energy and agriculture ministries can deliver truly impactful solutions for climate and livelihood alike. In the countries where ARENA is engaged in, barriers are rarely about technology alone. They are about systems, fragmented regulations, limited data. Financing does not fit farmers and ministries working in isolation. Too often, programs fail not because the technology is wrong, but because the surrounding ecosystem lacks cohesion. For this reason, IRENA has been advancing the ecosystem approach by bringing together energy, agriculture, finance, local institutions, and private sector actors from the start of our work in countries. While this requires more efforts, time, and coordination, it is the only way to ensure that solutions endure and scale to achieving meaningful results. In 2023, at COP28, we launched the Empowering Lives and Livelihoods Renewable for Climate Action initiative, putting this approach at its core. Today, we are supporting 14 countries across Africa, South Asia, and Latin America in leveraging renewables for the agriculture sector, and the lessons are clear and consistent. The Director of Country Engagement Partnership, Mr. Gorbus Gönül, will shortly provide more details on the work and the concrete outcome emerging from the country that we are supporting. No single institution can deliver this transformation alone. Beyond our close collaboration with the FAO, as a founding member of the Agri-Food Coalition and the working group developing adaptation resilience metrics, we are aligning evidence and strengthening capacity across more than 25 organizations. This partnership reflects a shared global understanding. Renewable energy is a foundational enabler of modern agri-foods. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director General, for your remarks. I would now like to invite Mr. Abdul Hakim Elawer, Assistant Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, for opening remarks. Mr. Hakim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, Director General of IRENA, dear colleagues. It is a pleasure to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to co-host with IRENA today this extremely important ministerial dialogue. Mr. Chu Dong-yu, the Director General of FAO, unfortunately was not able to join us in person, but was very keen to bring his words through my presence and the presence of my colleague, Dr. Kaveh Zadi, the Director of Office of Climate and Biodiversity from our headquarters, and through a video recorded message to highlight the pivotal importance of accelerating renewable energy solutions in agri-food systems as a means to achieve our climate and food security goals. Renewable energy can fundamentally reshape the future of agri-food systems. We now have an unprecedented opportunity to scale up our decentralized energy solutions that directly benefit farmers, especially smallholder farmers, and transform agri-food systems. I kindly ask the IRENA Secretariat to play the FAO Director General's recorded message. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to address you at this IRENA Interministerial Dialogue focusing on important linkages between renewable energy and agri-food systems. Farmers play a crucial role in addressing the impact of the climate crisis on biodiversity loss and food diversity loss. Renewable energy is at a critical level in agri-food systems as they use 30% of global energy, and more than one-third of agri-food emissions is linked to the energy use. Decarbonization is simply not possible without investing in the transformation of agri-food systems to be more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. This transformation must also include investing in scaling up renewable energy. Many farmers still lack reliable, affordable, and clean energy services, which limits their livelihood improvement, productivity, and resilience. Cold chains and process infrastructure, which need a reliable energy supply, are so important for reducing food loss and waste. This is not just a lost food, but a lost income for farmers and a lost opportunity to reduce emissions. The challenge is substantial, but also is the opportunity. We already have the practical renewable energy solutions such as hydropower, solar, and wind. Renewable energy resources power agro practices from the field to post-harvest, from the farmer store to the consumer store. Sustainable bioenergy from the biomass, bioresidues, and bioproducts can improve efficiency and sustainable energy use across the agri-food value chains. Dear colleagues, at FAO, through our work on energy smart agri-food system, we have farmers, rural communities, and countries identify, adopt, and integrate these approaches. To unlock these benefits, we needed to lower barriers such as a high initial cost, limited finance, and insufficient infrastructure and technical skills. We needed to implement enabling policies that are coherent across the climate, biodiversity, energy, and food security, and that facilitate public and private partnerships. FAO stands ready to work with all the partners to implement agri-food system solutions to deliver on the four betters: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life, leaving no one behind. I would like to thank the IRENA for co-organizing this timely interministerial dialogue and wish to reaffirm FAO's commitment to renewable energy across agri-food systems. I thank you.
Thank you, Director General Dong Yu and Assistant Director General Elaware for your remarks. I would now like to invite Mr. Gurbuz Gunul, Director, Country Engagement and Partnerships, IRENA, to deliver a scene-setting presentation. Mr. Gunul, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. I'm pleased to bring IRENA's perspective to this critical dialogue, long constrained by silos between energy and agricultural decision makers. I will begin by setting the scene for why scaling renewable energy in agri-food system is not optional, it is essential. Agri-food systems sustain around 2.6 billion livelihoods worldwide. Smallholder farmers produce 1/3 of the world's food, yet remain among the most energy and investment constrained actors. The sector is also highly energy intensive, accounting for nearly 30% of global final energy use. Crucially, almost 70% of this demand occurs after the farm gate, pointing to major opportunities for renewables in storage, processing, and value addition. Energy gaps translate directly into losses. 14% of food is lost post-harvest, translating into about 250 terawatt hours of wasted energy annually. Limited energy access and finance further constrain value addition. Smallholders that constitute 80% of Africa's agriculture workforce receive less than 2% of global climate finance. These realities make energy a binding constraint on productivity, resilience, and livelihoods across agri-systems. This is why, together with UAE at COP28, we launched the Empowering Lives and Livelihoods initiative that recognizes renewable energy as a powerful lever, not only for climate action, but also for resilience, productivity, and value addition across agri-food systems. It is designed as a practical platform, working with sectoral ministries, cooperatives, and communities to deploy renewable energy solutions tailored to real needs along specific value chains. To date, we are actively engaging with 15 countries across regions, with initial assessments largely complete, and program development is in the different stages of advancement. Drawing on experience across countries and value chains, several enablers consistently emerge as critical to scaling renewable energy in agri-food systems. At the policy level, success hinges on strong interministerial coordination. Energy, agriculture, water, and finance policies must be aligned through integrated planning and evidence-based decision-making. Decentralized renewable energy solutions are central, especially when paired with efficient agricultural equipment. Scale and sustainability, however, depend on standards, quality assurance, as well as reliable after-sale services. Renewable energy delivers lasting impact only when it supports value additions and access to markets. Anchor demand, such as agro-processing or cold storage, can strengthen project viability, while private sector engagement builds resilient supply chains. Affordable financing combined with risk mitigation instruments is essential to overcome high upfront costs. In the end, scale is unlocked by cross-cutting enablers, shared knowledge, empowered people, strong cooperatives, and political leadership that turns ambition into action. These enablers show that scaling renewables in agri-food systems is a people-centered transition driven by policy, finance, and markets, not just technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gunur, for this insightful presentation. I would now invite Mr. Kaveh Zahedi, Director at the Food and Agriculture Organization, to deliver a scene-setting presentation.
Thank you very much, Chair. And as we heard from the FAO Director General, the energy transition and the agri-food system transition have to go hand in hand, because energy, frankly, underpins every stage of agri-food systems. On the one hand, scaling up renewable energy in agri-food can cut emissions across food supply chains. It can reduce polluting cooking fuels and, of course, improve food security. But also, on the other hand, agri-food systems can provide real solutions for energy transition and for sustainable development. For example, sustainable bioenergy from crop residues and organic waste can provide clean energy. It can support resilience. It can help with livelihood and, of course, expand the incomes for farmers. FAO has been supporting countries in exactly this, to simultaneously work across energy and food security, exactly what the Director General of IRENA called the shared goals that we need to address at the same time. That includes promoting renewable energy in food production to cut emissions and boost productivity and livelihoods. It includes supporting the establishment of guardrails so bioenergy doesn't compete with food production. In fact, through sustainable, truly sustainable standards, through monitoring, through metrics. And it includes something that was mentioned by a number of the panelists, which is access to finance for renewable energy in agri-food systems, Not an easy ask, given that only about 4% of climate-tagged overseas development aid actually is directed towards agri-food system solutions. So increasing that will enable us to meet the opportunity of addressing the 30% of energy use in agriculture, which was mentioned also by the Director General. But third, and not forgetting this, of course, we have to have integrated in there addressing food security. Today, still over 700 million people in the world go to bed hungry. So these have to be interrelated opportunities that we need to address. If we can have the next slide. Now, given that a third of global greenhouse gas emissions come from agriculture and that a third of agricultural emissions come from energy use, there's obviously a massive untapped opportunity for renewable energy uptake, as well as for expanding farmer incomes and food security all at the same time. And that's really what we've been demonstrating on the ground through so many of our interventions, including in Zambia and Uzbekistan, where we've helped support bringing the energy smart agriculture, avoiding up to 100,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions each year, while at the same time increasing food output. Or in Rwanda, where we've supported the turning of household waste to clean energy for cooking. Or in a range of countries where solar-powered supply chains are reducing post-harvest losses, helping obviously with greenhouse gas emission reductions as well as food security. So our message is quite simple. Without scaling up climate investments and actions in agri-food systems, it's just not possible to fully achieve the Paris Agreement. Scaling up renewable energy in agriculture and ramping up production of clean energy, including bioenergy, from agriculture is one of the biggest untapped opportunities for both the energy and agri-food transition. And indeed, that is the very purpose of the collaboration with IRENA, to accelerate that very transition, the dual transition of agri-food and energy, and tap into the untapped opportunities that they offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zahedi, for the insightful presentation. Now, during the next segment of this ministerial roundtable, we will hear insight from a high-level panel of speakers on this subject matter. The discussion will be moderated by Dr. Melinda Crane, journalist, political commentator, publicist, and television host, followed by reflections and closing remarks. I look forward to the discussions, which I'm sure will be insightful and compelling. And let me now hand over to the moderator, Dr. Melinda Crane. Over to you.
Thank you very much, dear Chair, Assembly Vice President, Excellency Guizard, and also from my side, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this interministerial dialogue. As a journalist who has worked a great deal in the area of food waste and the vulnerabilities faced by smallholder farmers, it is a very special honor to moderate this session today. We've heard from all of the speakers in this session so far why this joint undertaking by FAO and IRENA is so very important. And the bottom line, as we heard, is that forging a stronger connection between agri-food and clean energy systems is the absolute prerequisite, both for reaching our decarbonization goals and for attaining the shared prosperity that is the overarching theme of this year's IRENA Assembly. So now, over the next 45 minutes, leading policymakers from across the world are going to talk about exactly what they are doing to forge those closer links between these two systems. We're going to do that in 2 rounds of discussion, beginning with an overview of current challenges and approaches, and then focusing on governance frameworks and best practices and technologies for delivering real impact. Because we have a very limited time frame, I am going to keep the introductions of our esteemed panelists quite brief, just name and title, and it is now a great honor to welcome Her Excellency Dr. Amina bint Abdullah Al-Dahak, Minister of Climate Change and the Environment for the United Arab Emirates, our host country. Welcome, Madam. There should be, yes, there are name tags on your seats. It's also a very great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Prahad Joshi, Minister of New and Renewable Energy for India. Great to have you with us, Excellency. I'm very pleased to welcome His Excellency Mr. Nani Juwara, who is Minister of Petroleum and Energy for the Gambia. Great to have you with us, sir. Later on, we will be joined by His Excellency Mr. Kande Yumkela, who is Chairman of the Presidential Initiative on Climate Change, Renewable Energy, and Food Security for Sierra Leone. He is currently in another session, but he will arrive shortly. It's also a great pleasure to welcome the Honorable Waisimbangave, Deputy Minister of Power and Energy for Zimbabwe. Welcome to you. And His Excellency Mr. Wangju Lee joins us, Deputy Minister for Ministry of Climate, Energy and the Environment for the Republic of Korea. Finally, I'm very glad to introduce His Excellency Mr. John Mirenge, who is Ambassador of Rwanda to the United Arab Emirates and Permanent Representative to IRENA. Thank you so much for being with us. And before we begin, I will just remind everybody that I do need to keep an eye on the time. So for this first round of exchange, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I'd be very grateful for that because, as you can no doubt see, we are running significantly behind schedule with our session. And we begin with IRENA's host country, the UAE, which imports 90% of its food, relies on an energy-intensive desalination water system, and has over 6 gigawatts of installed solar. And Minister Al-Dahak, UAE's commitment to action on the energy, water, food nexus was evident at the Global Food Systems Summit that you recently hosted. The UAE is deploying agrivoltaics, solar-powered irrigation and desalination, as I said, and electrified cold chains. So what's been most critical in scaling these renewable energy solutions across agri-food systems?
Thank you so much for the question, and welcome to everyone again. Very good afternoon to everyone. Now, I think the key to scaling up any solution across any system, basically, is to have a well-integrated and proven solutions that can be scaled. Now, to achieve that, you need to look at it from multiple angles. If we look at it from a government policy angle, we in the UAE, we don't look at the different strategies that encompasses those challenges, be it the energy strategy, food security strategy, water security strategy, and overall the overarching umbrellas of other strategy, like the net zero strategy, which is a very long-term strategy. We look at them as very well aligned, synergized strategies that work hand in hand. And even during their development, they are developed and designed with that in mind. So synergy in policy reduces the friction into when the implementation is on the ground, and that allows a well-integrated implementation that allows also scalability to be more feasible and more doable in reality. The next point is when we look at solutions in the nexus between energy and food, you need to look at you need to think about de-risking the technological innovations. And the government have invested very early on into technological innovations to pilot at the beginning those innovations so that they are de-risked for the wide-scale implementation, whether they are funded by government, by sovereign funds, by private-public partnerships that allows to absorb that risk and allow the commercial scale-up to be more viable. The UAE have implemented renewable energy for a long time and is a leading partner worldwide with more than 70 countries. And that also allows the UAE to be at the forefront of implementing renewables in agri-food systems. The last point I want to make here is making sure that any implementation is well coupled with two main objectives in mind: economic feasibility as well as sustainability. And they are not in contrary of each other. They go perfectly hand in hand if we design it from the very beginning to achieve those two objectives.
Thank you very much. Minister, I know that you do need to leave us shortly for another pressing engagement as IRENA host country. So let me just pull forward the second question that I would have had for you later on in our dialogue and ask you to talk a little bit, given the water scarce context in which UAE finds itself, like many others on this panel, by the way. How are you using that abundant renewable energy that you talked about, but also digital innovation, including AI, to improve efficiency and boost food system resilience?
So the water scarcity is one angle of the challenges that is facing a lot of countries around the world. But we also have been from the very beginning, when agriculture started in the UAE, even before the Union, before 1971, the heat, the temperature, rising temperatures, the arid environment, the water scarcity, they all have been challenges that have been there all along. But with those challenges came a lot of innovations from the very beginning as well. So looking at it from an angle where we can rely on also other natural resources to boost the agricultural landscape, and that by relying on the solar energy that we have abundantly as well in this region. So yes, we have some challenges, but we do have as well other resources that we can rely on to reduce the risk of those challenges. So the UAE, as you mentioned, we rely heavily on desalination, as so many of the countries around this region, because of the water scarcity nature of this geographical area. And the desalination is an energy intense process, and we need it, whether it is for the different uses, for industries, for agri, and so on. Now, with with the renewable energy solutions, we can reduce the cost of desalination and make it more effective and more efficient, even energy-wise. Now, aside from that, when we look at the intersection between renewables and agri-food systems, we can only make the boost that we need in the agri-food systems, whether to make them more resilient, to reduce food loss, or to increase productivity, by incorporating renewable energy as energy as an enabler for the sector, to also provide the other means and resources, be it water or other resources, in addition to coupling that with AI solutions. The UAE have really invested in driving AI across so many areas, and one of that is in agri-food systems. One example is Bustanica, which is one of the largest indoor vertical farms and is in the UAE. This indoor vertical farms produces more than 1 million kg of fresh produce every year. And that comes with reduction, like 95% less water use within those environments. Great. But it does not only do that, it also produces it with the minimum or no pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, and that's achieved by very well-controlled climate and very strict biosecurity implementation. I visited their facility, and they are very impressive in terms of their implementation, their rules and regulations, and the way that they handle their production. This is one example. The UAE have last year initiated a country-wide program that's planned in the Emirates program, and with that established the National Agricultural Center, which one of its objectives to increase the climate-smart farms. And with that, we work with the small and medium holder farmers as well to implement solar energy solutions to reduce the energy and water consumptions in their farms by 90%. So again, coupling this on a commercial level, but also making it very viable for small and medium holder farmers.
Thank you very much for those very interesting examples, surely with some lessons for many other countries as well. I know you do need to leave us now, but thank you for joining and sharing your insights. And indeed. And vertical farming, quite fascinating. And I must say, in my own personal experience, Minister Joshi, I'd like to come to you now. I have recently been hosting CEO roundtables between the German solar industry and the Indian solar industry. And the technologies around agri-food system have been a central theme of these discussions. So renewable technologies, including vertical farming and other measures for using renewables to power irrigation and agriculture. So let's talk a little bit about India's situation. You are home to around 18% of the world's population, and you rely heavily on agriculture. It does, in fact, support nearly half of all livelihoods in India. At the same time, you're also seeing, as I mentioned, a rapid expansion of renewable energy. So how do you see those two linking up going forward? And how do you balance energy access for farmers, water sustainability, and fiscal pressures? So a set of challenges. And at the same time, would you say that your scale makes you a potential global leader for clean, resilient agri-food systems?
First of all, I would like to thank you for providing the opportunity for the participation. I can very proudly say, in last decade, or especially in last 6-7 years in particular, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Modi, India, it has not only produced the highest amount of the food items, at the same time we are providing the one of the best food security in the world for the 800 million people. We are providing the food security. So to procure that much food, naturally, we have to take care of our farmers. For that, for irrigation purpose, we have to provide them power, that is electricity, energy. That was really a problem as in the many part of the world. So what we have done is RE integration into the agricultural through a national initiative, a national scheme we have brought in. So when scale becomes big, naturally cost also becomes less. This is what has happened in India also as far as renewable energy is concerned. So when the scale is increased, now it is the total, the cost of the energy as far as renewable energy is very, very economical today in India in comparison to the other parts of the world also, and even India in comparison to the previous few years back. And the world's largest food security, I said, so that much energy we have to provide. Previously, what used to happen, we used to give the electricity in the night for the irrigation purpose. When we started the PM Kusum solar energy into the agricultural in 2019, reducing the dependence on the fossil fuel, the lot of changes have come. We call Indian farmers as Annadata, means providers of the food. Today, they have become the providers of the energy also because of this scheme. What is that scheme? PM Kusum? 1 million stand-alone pumps, we have converted 1 million stand-alone pumps which were depending on the diesel that have been converted through a renewable energy source, that is solar. And nearly about 1.1 million grid-connected pumps have also been solarized. All put together, it is producing 10,200 megawatt of the capacity of the renewable energy. And water sustainability question comes when power is available, energy is available, naturally more power is consumed. For that also, we are planning it through the micro irrigation and no installation in the dark zone where the water depletion is very high. There we are not providing the scheme. And also capacity of the pump is also to the tune of maximum up to 7.5 horsepower. So keeping all these in mind, universal solar power, solar pump controls enable the diversion of surplus power. When it is produced surplus, that is being used for other agricultural equipment, like for tractor and cold storage. Many of such things, that power is being used. If that power is excess, they can sell it to the grid also. With these, the overall financial capabilities of the farmers is being increased. And fiscal discipline is maintained through the state participation. State is not giving entirely fund. We are parting something, we are subsidizing it, and remaining part of the fund is contributed by the farmer itself. By that, sense of owning has come. So production of the food, that is farmers, and they have become the producer of the electricity also, and their overall the viability of the farmer, that has increased. This innovative planning, this innovative scheme has been brought out by the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, in 2019, and it is implemented very well, and now also it is being continued. In my next question, because you have given me 3 minutes, ours is a very big success story. You could have given us the time to present the entire thing. It is the most success story in the world according to as far as meat is concerned. And if somebody can visit, many people, they have come to India and visited the spots. The people who have left the entire land without cultivation for many years, many decades for the want of the power, because India, you know, terrain is very difficult in many areas. There was no power connectivity, where today we have provided this energy through solar panel, and they are directly producing. Their livelihood has increased like anything. This is the most success story in India. I am very happy to share this.
Thank you very much. And you've provided an excellent example of the way that integrating these systems, renewable energy and agri-food, can empower farmers. We sometimes talk about prosumers, but as producers of energy, and thereby, of course, empower them economically as well. So many thanks for that. Let me go next to the Gambia, where agriculture is also an essential source of rural employment, but constrained by very unreliable electricity access, so much so that the country's now importing a rising share of its food. So let me ask you, Excellency, Minister Juara, how you see the role of renewables in that situation, and to what extent you are accelerating investment in decentralized systems to get that kind of flexibility that we've just been hearing about from Minister Joshi, and also to boost productivity.
Thank you very much.
It's on.
It's on.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The deployment of decentralized renewable energy, or accelerating the deployment of decentralized renewable energy, is in line with the Gambia's recovery-focused national development plan that is spanning from 2023 to 2027, which put a lot of emphasis in the transformation of the agricultural sector, which has been dependent entirely on subsistence system, to a more commercial-based, market-oriented agricultural productivity in the country. Our farmers, for the longest time, have been without power. They have no access to electricity, and this is not only the farmers. In general, access to electricity or to energy in the country has been a major challenge. But the government has taken this bold decision and very ambitious strategic and policy decision to make sure everyone in that country get access to electricity before the end of 2026, which is also in line with our program that is developed with African Development Bank and the World Bank, which is M300, to make sure everyone in that country have access to electricity by 2030. Of course, we are even more ambitious than that plan as a country. We want to achieve it even before 2030. And therefore, we are doing everything possible to expand the electricity network in all the regions in the country. However, the challenge that we have, and that's the more reason why we wanted to deploy decentralized renewable energy for our farmers. The target for the universal access is mainly targeting settlements and businesses, but of course we have challenges in reaching out to our farms that are very far from those settlements, and therefore they need power. To have access to energy, therefore we need to make sure that we deploy decentralized renewable energy. And this we are doing by encouraging not only the farmers themselves to go to the banks to be able to have access to finance, by creating what is called an agency that will be responsible for providing credit guarantees. That will, the agency will be working with the commercial banks to be able to provide the necessary finance to the farmers, where government will be providing some level of de-risking of that credit facility by providing the credit guarantee, and we will be able to take guarantee in terms of de-risking the default for the farmers. As such, we are also working very closely to encourage the private sector to participate in this endeavor. And that's why we have developed and also adopted the net metering policy and also feed-in tariff as well, just to encourage the private sector to also participate. And we have now seen some of the private players developing their own green mini grids, where they are providing services to communities that are hard to reach, and mainly these are farming communities. And this is really helping us to be able to deploy and also provide access to our farmers. Because in our country, the largest number of the people are dependent on farming. But for the longest time, it has always been subsistence, just enough to feed them and not on commercial basis. And this we want to transform. We want to be like India.
Mm-hmm. That's
Honorable,
an aspiration.
we want to be like India.
There you
go. So we are also making efforts to transform the agricultural sector so that our people can now be more competitive in terms of the agricultural sector. They can be more profitable, and we can create more jobs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for highlighting the financial element in this and the importance of getting funding both to farmers themselves and also through the private sector mini grids so that you can provide that access to rural communities. Very, very much thanks for that. And you're sitting next to the right person to to talk about collaboration. So let me go over to Minister Zimbanagavi. And staying with decentralized renewable energy, in Zimbabwe's case, agriculture supports no less than 70% of the population, yet only 12% of smallholder farmers are grid connected. So again, an access issue, leading to lower yields and also post-harvest losses. We saw in the two scene setters earlier the problems of food waste and loss due to not having a cool chain, not having electrification. So what potential does decentralized renewable energy offer to boost productivity, in your view, and also to rebuild Zimbabwe's former role as a regional food producer, sending food to other countries?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to respond. As you know, Zimbabwe has always been, in the past, Zimbabwe was the breadbasket of the SADC region, really. We were the best at agriculture, but over the years, we have been having challenges, and our food supply has been going down. This has been mainly because we had issues with access to energy, as we have said. Most of our farmers in the rural areas, they were using diesel pumps, or rather just relying on natural rainfall coming in, and also because we have now had issues of climate change. So that has also added to some of the reductions that we've been having. So the first thing that we've done as Zimbabwe is to look at infrastructure development, looking at how we can improve the infrastructure that we have, especially the grid that we have, to ensure that we improve the grid, to ensure that electricity is also available in the rural areas. And we have also included women and youth in renewable energy activities, so that we make sure that we leave no one and no place behind, that everyone is involved. And when everyone is involved, that means that our image as the breadbasket is also improving, and we are also rebuilding our image as the regional food producer. So what we've done is we've introduced solar powered irrigation in rural areas. We now have what we call village business units. These are gardens and village business units that we have that use solar powered irrigation. And this has helped especially in improving production for our raw farmers. And because now we are also using renewable energy, it means that we also have solar cold storage systems and cogens that are also available to the people of Zimbabwe. And this has also reduced harvest losses, as people can now also preserve their fruits, their vegetables, their fish. And this has also now enabled them to also be able to sell on the world market, also to sell and trade regionally. And also the availability of decentralized renewable energy is also shifted farmers from also doing low-scale farming to also now moving into also large-scale farming, which has also now stabilized our income capacities, and also making sure that we also improve the access to energy, especially renewable energy that we have. This has also improved rural employment, and overall, this has improved our capacity to also produce our own food, and also do value addition to the food that is being grown in the country, because we are also now using renewable energy to also power our milling systems, to also use pumping for water using renewable energy, and also in general, just food processing has also improved a lot due to the use of renewable energy. Thank you.
So in other words, renewable energy deployment, decentralized renewable energy deployment, very much also enabling local value added and moving up in the supply chain. Thank you very much for that. Let me go to Deputy Minister Lee now. And agriculture contributes around supports around 7 to 8% of the workforce in South Korea, with many small-scale farms. So how is your country using renewable energy and digital innovation to enhance productivity and also to support those smallholder farmers as well as build resilience?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gray. First of all, I would like to commend the collaboration between ARENA and FAO. It's truly noteworthy. Yes, amazing. Actually, in the past, Korea's agriculture and energy ministers work in silos. Under the current government, however, we have broken those barriers to promote integrated policies. So improving energy access in rural areas is also very important task in many countries. Rural areas have low population density and limited commercial viability, so therefore often excluded from energy network. Against this backdrop, Korea is actively promoting a more proactive profit-sharing model for the expansion of renewable energy in the rural areas. We call this solar and wind income village. Rural residents or farmers participate directly in renewable energy projects in their communities. The profits generated are distributed as dividend based on their equity or bond holdings, or are reinvested in local welfare program. The projects will be supported by government funding, central and local government funding. We plan to the Korea government plans to expand this model to hundreds of villages every year at a megawatt scale. This year, we plan to implement at least 500 villages. Energy produced from this way will be used for digital solutions, including advanced drainage systems, cold storages, smart farms, and cold chain infrastructures. I want to emphasize another thing. It is very important for ministries responsible for agriculture to reduce fossil fuel subsidy policies. Even today, in many countries, policies that support farmers and food businesses often rely heavily on carbon-based inputs, such as petroleum products. So we hope to see a gradual transition away from these practices, supported by close collaboration between agricultural ministries and climate and energy ministries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We could add finance ministers to that mix as well. And of course, getting rid of those subsidies is something Irina has been calling for a long time. Thank you also for sharing the example of community participation and giving communities a share of the gains, because we know very well that that tends to increase acceptance, of course, of new technologies if you do participatory schemes. So thank you very much for sharing that best practice. I will now go to Rwanda. And agriculture employs, as I understand it, around 65 to 70% of Rwanda's population and contributes about 25% of GDP. You've been collaborating with both FAO and IRENA. Ambassador Marenga, how has the collaboration with those two organizations created new opportunities for smallholder farmers and also local value added?
Thank you very much, Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished panelists. On behalf of my Minister of Infrastructure, who didn't make it here, I would first like to thank Irina for inviting Rwanda to be part of this important dialogue. And before diving into collaboration with Irina and FAO as mentioned, please allow me to state some key contextual information. In Rwanda, renewable energy is a crucial driver of agri-transformation, economic growth, and food security, not just as an input for infrastructure. Today, as you just stated, more than 70% of Rwanda's electricity comes from renewable sources. Agriculture remains a vital sector, employing about 70% of our population, and contributing about 25% of our GDP. We are deliberately integrating renewable energy into our agri-food systems to shift from rain-fed subsistence agriculture towards productive, climate-resilient, and market-oriented value chains. In fact, renewable power delegation and agro-processing are contributing to yield increases of up to 50% in targeted schemes, while significantly reducing post-harvest losses. Solar-powered irrigation, cold storage, processing, and drying are already enhancing yields, reducing post-harvest losses, and generating employment opportunities, particularly for young people and women in the rural areas. Off-grid and decentralized solutions are expanding access in rural areas where grid electricity remains uneven, enabling irrigation, cold storage, and value addition close to farmers. Cooperative-based ownership and pay-as-you-go solar models are making clean energy affordable and scalable for smallholders. However, our agriculture sector also faces challenges as low mechanization, limited irrigation, and high post-harvest losses and increased demand for financing. These challenges are, at the same time, opportunities for collaboration with partners including IRENA. On our partnership with IRENA and energy private developers, this has provided a clear mapping of Rwanda's agriculture energy landscape. Through detailed mapping of energy and agribusiness actors, we have identified strategic entry points for decentralized renewable energy irrigation, cold storage, drying, and milling, while highlighting challenges such as fragmented coordination, limited awareness, and financing constraints. This work has created a strategic platform that government, the private sector, and development partners can use to plan and prioritize interventions for renewable energy integration in agriculture. Complementing this analytical work, we have strengthened the capacity and linkages across the sector. Engagements with farmers, cooperatives, developers, and financial institutions have promoted dialogue on renewable energy technologies, financing solutions, and operational models. These efforts are already fostering interest among government ministries and private actors to explore coordinated approaches. Overall, the combination of data-driven analysis, capacity building, matchmaking, and strategic dialogue has strengthened Rwanda's agri-energy ecosystems, enhancing awareness and readiness among farmers and cooperatives, and positioned the private sector as a key facilitator for new renewable energy adoption. These efforts lay the foundation for scalable, market-oriented strategies that can boost agricultural productivity, reduce post-harvest losses, and strengthen climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us now do a pretty quick round of discussion to spotlight a bit more on best practices. And all of you have already shared some wonderful best practice examples, but I'm going to try to delve a little bit deeper. And I will start with a question to India and Zimbabwe, so same question to both of you. And Minister Joshi, starting with you, what policy or financial signal would you say has been most important and most effective in unlocking private investment for renewable energy in agriculture and or water systems? We've heard several mentions of private investment, but tell us in India, what signal, what policy do you think is working most effectively to crowd that in?
See, yesterday in the same on the same platform, I spoke about the equity and the finance and the international cooperation for the finance and other technology for the utility-led model. But this PM Kusum, which is being supported, a big support to the farmers for the food, providing the food, that is it is a decentralized scheme. That decentralized scheme, that itself is crafted so that itself signals for the financing from both the banks, financial institution, and the private partners. How? Means after whatever he wants for his irrigation purpose, after producing that electricity he is selling to the grid, and grid is paying back to him. That itself becomes the most important bankability point where it comes, that is being supported here itself. Second point, the demand through national scheme when it comes. We have crafted a national scheme in such a way that scale has become such a huge that the cost of the project has come down. So that is another advantage because of that has increased the investor confidence. And third, we have started the national bioenergy scheme. Bioenergy, biodiesel scheme, these are all the schemes we have brought, and this has improved the scale, commercial viability, and investor confidence. For example, agricultural residue, which they normally just burn it, but whereas we are converting it to the pellet, all such things, and that is being used for the converting those things, agricultural waste, into the energy. That is, we call it as a bioenergy. The national bioenergy, this promotes the briquette, pelleting, and that is being used in the production of the power. Third thing is PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana that I spoke about, the rooftop solar, that is being provided to the farmers also, in which they use for the agricultural, that is another scheme, for their house purpose, therefore residential purpose. The PM Surya Ghar, they are also using it. And third point is National Green Hydrogen Mission. This National Green Hydrogen Mission, that it can be used in tractors, that can be used in other machineries. So National Green Hydrogen, what where India is leading, and India is going to become, then as far as the green hydrogen manufacturing is concerned, it is going to become the hub for the entire world. In that also, our scheme is well crafted and it is going on well. And decentralized energy support to the cold chains, cold storage and storage, rural micro enterprises. These are all where the additional revenue comes to the farmers. So naturally, farmer is interested, private entrepreneurs are interested. As far as the financial support is concerned, state is supporting, and they are also investing from their side. Also, sense of owning is there. My last very quick point is, here there is an opportunity for the woman also. If she has a small land, she can use this PM Kusum, which support their agri-farm, and she can sell it to the neighboring people, their water also. If that fellow doesn't have that water facility, the next neighboring farmer, she can sell it. Many people are doing it. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, he has telecasted it, how women, they are using their small land by using this PM Kusum, and they are irrigating their neighboring farmland also. This is another big example, which has become a very huge, big news in the many countries also, in India also. Last point is preparation of next phase PM Kusum for the farmers. That also sends a clear forward signal with a stronger focus on the agri-PV. That reinforces the confidence, and not only that, elevated PV structure, which it will produce the electricity also. Not only producing the electricity, it is used as the farmland also. Because it is elevated, below that panel, PV panels, production is also being done. No land is wasted. That also we are providing in PM Kusum. And last, over 146 million small holding farmers are there. We are providing this scheme to all of them. I think by this PM Kusum, which is a decentralized scheme, PM Surya Ghar, which is a decentralized scheme for the production of the RE. I am just 1 minute. I am completing. By that itself, when these all together, this scheme comes to end, within 2-3 years or 4 years, we are producing nearly about 30-40 gigawatt of the electricity by this scheme itself. And where the excess energy, they can sell it and make money. Means they are not only producing the food, they are producing the energy and they are selling the energy. This is what the big change we are bringing in India.
Yeah. So again, participation as an incentive to drive farmers' well-being. Thank you very much, and investment. Let me go over to Minister Zimbanagave, and then do I hear that Korea also wishes to speak to this point? Did you give me a sign just now? But I will first go to, okay, good. So please, Minister, same question to you. The most important policy lever or incentive financial signal that you see for crowding in private investment?
Thank you so much once again. In Zimbabwe, we have quite a few number of policies that we have that are aimed at making sure that we also empower our farmers towards renewable energy. We have the National Renewable Energy Policy. We have the National Integrated Energy Resource Plan. We also have the National Electrification Strategy. And we want to make sure that we also introduce at least 2,100 megawatts of renewable energy into our energy mix. So our energy policy has also introduced incentives to make sure that we reinforce investor confidence, which include tax and duty exemptions on solar equipment, reducing upfront costs for those farmers who might want to also invest in renewable energy at the local level. We have now said if you want to have at least 10 megawatt project and below, we have simplified the licensing requirements for such capacities, which has now established issues of net metering and people also being able to also establish energy plans for their own use. We have now also anchored demand through public programs such as the aggregated procurement under the village business units that I talked about before. The decentralizing of renewable energy into national energy is now, we now have a clear integration of the decentralized renewable energy into national energy, agriculture, and climate strategies, which has signaled long-term government commitment. For example, we have the National Energy Compact, which is a pillar on the scaling of decentralized energy systems. But I want to say that probably the most effective signal has been the deployment of guarantee mechanisms and blended finance structures that de-risk private investment. From the Zimbabwe's context, policy has revolved around partial risk guarantees, loan guarantee funds, and first loss concessional capital. And these have been critical in overcoming lenders' concerns around smallholder creditworthiness. This has lowered collateral requirements and improved risk return profiles, enabling banks and investors to finance solar irrigation, cold storage, and agro-processing. The impact has now been that it is amplified, and when combined with results-based financing, where subsidies are dispersed only after verified delivery and performance of renewable energy systems, this has ensured quality and a shifting of performance risk to the suppliers. Together, these measures convert renewable energy in agriculture from a perceived development risk into a bankable investment opportunity for our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's been a common theme in so many of the areas we've looked at the Assembly, whether it's in grids and storage or here, smallholder farming, those guarantees and de-risking mechanisms as absolutely essential also to enable scaling by participants. So let me, in that context, come to the Gambia once again to talk about decentralized systems and how we can promote them to scale. And I'd like to ask you what you see as the single most decisive factor that in fact determines whether decentralized renewables succeed or fail to scale, and what lesson you would offer to other countries that want to embark on similar integration of food systems and renewable systems in this respect, scaling decentralized.
Thank you very much. The Gambia, I think, over the years have experienced the deployment of decentralized renewable systems. I think I can talk since in the 1980s. We've been deploying decentralized renewable energy in our health facilities, in our women gardens, at our telecommunication facilities that have no access to the grid, and even to some of the schools. So over the years, we had a lot of experience when it comes to the deployment of distributed energy in the country. The biggest challenge has always been sustainability and also access to finance. And this has been the major challenge over the years. And when it comes to sustainability, the biggest challenge has also been lack of standards for quality of the materials that have been, or equipment that have been supplied. That has always been a very big challenge also. And lack of technical skills to maintain those facilities has also been a major challenge. We had a lot of failures in some of the deployments in the past, simply because the beneficiaries themselves were not adequately sensitized on the usage of the facility. And the after-sales service was also not available. The equipments were substandard, and technical skills were not also available. And as such, most of the distributed renewable energy facilities really failed to perform as expected. And as such, the advice we can give to other countries that have also the same ambition like the Gambia to deploy renewable energy in terms of distributed renewable energy in their various parts of the country is to ensure that these facilities are sustainable. And to make them sustainable, we have to have cohort of technical skills that are available, both in terms of technicians and also engineers, to be able to install and maintain these facilities. And the communities that are the beneficiaries to these facilities must also be sensitized enough to understand the uses of these facilities. And government need to support the farmers in terms of providing financial services to them, de-risking some of the borrowing, what is called borrowing from the commercial banks by providing credit guarantee facilities for them. This is the only way that we can accelerate and expand the deployment of renewable energy or decentralized renewable energy across the countries.
Thank you.
The farmers don't have the collateral. They don't have the financial resources. They don't have the financial muscle. So it will be impossible for them to be able to expand as expected. And therefore, government support from the policy level is very crucial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And several important points there that also are common themes, not only in this sector, in the food sector, but again, in other sectors as well. The need for financial literacy on the part of smallholder farmers, the need for skills and standards, very interesting indeed as factors for whether you can scale decentralized renewables or not. Let me go to Sierra Leone. They've got you working very hard here, Chairman Yomkela, from one session to another. So we are now into our second round of discussion, but I'm just going to very quickly ask you the question I would have posed to you in our first round. Essentially, your position, similar to several other countries here on the panel, agriculture is vital to your economy. It employs over 60% of the population. It contributes around 45 to 50% of GDP, and the sector is very vulnerable to climate shocks. So tell us a little bit, if you would, about how Sierra Leone is using renewable energy and international partnerships to boost climate resilience and to strengthen agri-food productivity, as well as reducing post-harvest losses and waste.
Thank you very much.
Should be on, actually.
Thank you very much. In our country right now, we have about 100 mini-grids. We've set a target to triple that, to add 200 more mini-grids. What is different here now is that for the new mini-grids we want to deploy them within agricultural clusters. So right from the beginning, we've said that we will target a number of agricultural clusters where we will embed these mini-grids. And another difference here is bringing the energy solution at the time we're planning the agricultural strategy. Sometimes it's an afterthought. The agriculture minister rolls out his agriculture plan, and then later on they realize they need energy solutions. So we are saying we embed these mini-grids upfront in clusters that have been identified, because you need the mini-grids either for the processing side of the agriculture or for the irrigation. And all of that is necessary to enhance productivity, but also, again, to build resilience. If we can manage water, we can do more than one crop. Typically in my country, it's rain-fed. So we just wait for the weather. Now we are saying we copy some of what is happening in India and Bangladesh. They manage water well. So they can do 2 crops or 3 crops because they can have water available. So embedding the energy solutions in the middle of our agricultural planning and climate resilience is key now to our strategy. Of the 200 mini-grids we want to do, we are already starting with 70 now, fully funded by the European Union. Very soon, with the World Bank DIRES program, we will do the rest. And we've also embedded energy and agricultural nexus into our Mission 300 Energy Compact. So the focus is on energy for productive uses, for processing, storage, also cold chains as we go along. Of course, on this particular area, we're looking at examples from India. What India has done over time with the deployment of irrigation pumps in communities. I have had the privilege of visiting some of your institutions. I've seen what you've done in places like Gujarat and so on over time. So that knowledge has helped me now guiding government policy to say, hey, let's look east, India, Bangladesh, to what they've done in managing water, but also providing these off-grid solutions to communities. So, Honorable Minister, if you see me coming back to India, don't be surprised. The last comment I want to make is the following.
Minister heard a very similar comment from Minister Jawara. So we clearly situated Minister
right in the middle of both
Joshi
of
in the
us.
right place.
So you're going to have two friends visiting you soon. Last comment I want to make is the following. We've also made a mistake in the past. We provide the energy for the farmers or the rural communities, but we don't think of the technologies they need that will enable them to use the energy.
Right.
So having those energy efficient technologies in India, again, the experience I had leading Sustainable Energy for All when we went to Gujarat, we saw, and the advantage in India is they have original equipment manufacturers. So we've seen institutions working directly with the designers to make pumps that are portable that women can use.
Yeah.
So I saw some of those models in Gujarat because they could go back, but also energy efficient equipment that can use solar technology power rather than diesel generators. India had that advantage because they have the original equipment manufacturers. We don't have those, but of course we can adapt to use some of what we see in Vietnam or in India, for example. So the technology that can enable them to use the energy, the type of rice mill. I've seen rice mills provided by some donors and they're sitting there as furniture because you need a big generator with diesel to run it. Yeah. There was no thought about saying you make it more energy efficient so it can use a solar panel rather than a diesel generator.
That actually was the point that was being made by Minister Jawara when you came in, when he was talking about technological standards as a key factor for scaling and saying basically if the farmers are not in a position to use a particular technology, if it's not standardized, then it might wind up having very little use. Are there other key factors that you would say determine the success or failure of scaling?
Yeah, it's again an approach by one of our group partners, Selco in India. It's about building that ecosystem. You need the technology, you need the energy solution, you need the financial intermediation as well, and of course the skills, the extension service that can train these people how to capitalize on that. So what we've learned also from our partners in Selco, that is covering a huge area in India, is to look at that ecosystem within a region or a community that will enable the farmers or the poor artisans there to use these technologies we want to provide. So that ecosystem approach, I believe, is very important, especially also the financial intermediation. I think Minister Jawara was mentioning that at a low cost, how we make all of that as a package at the same time. The last thing is, again, from my friends at Selco, patient capital. Many of our international partners or donors, as we call them, want quick results. In the rural community, you need time to fail and learn. That agility and patience, that it is not a quarterly reporting. It will take a year, 2 years before they really come up to speed to understand some of these technologies, have the muscle to get the financing for it. But many of our partners are not patient. They want you to show results in agriculture within 6 months. That's not the way it works. So in India, we've seen cases where with philanthropic money, interest can be low and they're a little bit more patient. They don't want the results immediately in year 1. They want to see the results in year 2 because they know you have to learn first before you run. So patient capital is going to be important, and that is where philanthropic money can help some of the donor partner funding that comes in.
So patient capital as part of blended financing. One more question for our best practices session before we take two quick floor interventions, and that goes to the Republic of Korea once again. And to just talk very briefly about what kind of policy mechanisms you are using to promote electrification of energy consumption in agriculture, and how you also are promoting renewable deployment on farmland. So if you would very briefly tell us what practices you're recommending to others.
Thank you. Thank you. As he mentioned about the energy efficiency of agricultural systems, I want to talk about agricultural equipment. For example, farm machinery such as tractor, tillers, cultivators. We need some carbon-free equipment for EV or electric or hydrogen fuel cell. Korea are keen to develop these equipments since we are in automobile industry. We have some carbon-free solutions. So I want to talk about that. And to achieve a successful energy transition in agriculture, we must supply more renewable energy in rural area. So for a mountainous country like Korea, where most flat land is already used for farming, so we introduce agri-photovoltaic model. This model combines crop production with solar power generation. While many farmers were initially hesitant for that, but extensive R&D and demonstration projects have proven its benefits in Korea. We found that while crop yields may decrease by only 20 to 30%, total farm income can more than triple or quadruple.
Right.
These results have led to growing interest in agrivoltaics in recent years. But we should remember that at the same time as food security remains a key priority, we require compliance with the farming continuity principle under the government supervision to preserve farmland. Okay.
Thank you very much for that. That brings this part of our panel discussion to a close, but we do now have two very brief floor interventions that I would like to call on. But first of all, let us give our panel a very warm round of applause, please, for these important insights that you have shared on the benefits that can be derived from better integrating agri-food systems and renewable energy, and some of the best practices for forging those connections to boost the prosperity, in particular, of smallholder farmers. So many, many thanks to all of you. And I will now ask Viba Dawan, Dr. Viba Dawan, for her comment. Yes, please. And those microphones will be on. You may need to adjust them, though.
Yeah, I'll do that. Well, thank you so much. And after such an interesting panel, it's difficult for me what to say. Well, one thing which emerged, food demand is going to go up. The type of food we grow perhaps will change, because we are already seeing in India, we are moving more towards nutritious food, especially millets and so on. But the way we are going to grow our food definitely is going to change. Last century, we have witnessed agriculture becoming resource and energy intensive. Rightly so, that's how we could achieve increase in food productivity. But then it has also resulted in contribution to GHG emissions. And today, of course, depending on the country, we are talking about almost 16% of GHG emissions coming from agriculture. So now there is need to make it net zero or reduce GHG emissions as much as possible. And I'm happy to report here that India is one of the few countries which is using nano fertilizer. So nano fertilizer it reduces your fertilizer consumption to almost 90%. You only use 10% and directly into crop. So therefore, nothing goes to the air. There are no nitrous oxide emissions. Nitrogen doesn't pollute your water underneath. So that is something which I'll request FAO to consider seriously, how to take it to different parts of the world, especially Africa. We talk about reducing the use of natural resources, especially water, and no tillering conservation agriculture, which is practiced in India, again can be done all over the world, especially because now we have machines available. There is initial reduction for a year, but after 3 years, it's as good as any of the means that we are practicing today. Agri-photovoltaics, and very rightly spelled out by our Honorable Minister Joshi ji, it's the second crop for the farmer, and they decide whether to use the energy generated for pumping of water or for selling it. And this is making crop diversification possible in the country, and we are talking about save water, earn money. So what is also required, and because we can't compromise on total production of food, so FAO would like to take up programs to develop varieties for the future so that it's not just climate resilient, but they can grow under solar photovoltaics. And excess energy, because most of the villages in the country, they are energy starved, India, Africa, many other parts of the world. So once we have energy through renewable energy, we can think of putting cold storage so that we save on post-harvest losses, solar dryers so that you have better product, and simple things like lowering temperature of vegetables or fruits before transportation will again help farmers getting their incomes up. We also have to look at the building design, ventilation, energy available, and so on. And essentially what we are looking at, that rural livelihoods are created with renewable energy, and that will serve the urban clients as well. But I'll also like to mention that biofuel production from agriculture residue is extremely important. Biogas CBG, which is becoming a reality in India, apart from biofuel production, we are also working on slurry, the biogas slurry. If that can be used as a fertilizer, it can be definitely, but how to ensure that we work it out so that it becomes a stable product in the market. Again, goes without saying, South-South triangular cooperation is essential, and there are learning lessons from different parts of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dhawan, Director General of the Energy and Resources Institute, for that valuable summary of the importance of these connections between the two sectors. Now I go to Professor Baron Joseph Orr. Welcome to you, also a floor intervention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, the Rio Convention focused on land. I'm representing Dr. Yasmin Fouad, our new Executive Secretary. You may know her as the former Environment Minister of Egypt, hosting both a Biodiversity COP and a Climate Change COP. So quite influential and very knowledgeable about what you're doing here. Her first week on the job, she convinced the executive secretaries of the other two Rio conventions to make food the basis of synergies. So we're on the right track for what you're talking about. But I have to apologize, using a colloquial expression, I'm going to pull the rug out from under all of this, but I'm going to put it back through you. How am I going to do it? 75% of our land has already been converted for human use, and we continue to convert it at the same or even higher rates. And 1 in 5 of those hectares is no longer useful for its original intended purpose. We're burning the candle at both ends. So if we don't take care of what's underneath, none of this will work. But the problem with taking care of it is how to make it bankable. And I think what you have all discussed is the basis for transforming that. And we're talking about 1.5 billion hectares of commitments by all of your countries. You could go home and talk to the national focal point for UNCCD and integrate renewables into every one of those projects. I put that challenge onto the table. The second thing I would like to mention is we need to focus not only on what we do in place, but the land use decisions prior to that happening. Otherwise, we continue to convert, meaning municipal planners, ag planners, conservation planners, and now I would argue energy planners in the same room every time a new decision is made. And then secondly, we need to turn return on investment to sustainable management of land and to restoration. And I would argue again that that comes from you, and I'm going to use your own comments to demonstrate that. Her Excellency from UAE talked about de-risking at the national level, the platform, the grids, etc. That's fundamental. And then we move beyond that to, well, I actually should start with what you said, the Honorable His Excellency from India, about the call to take care of the farmer. The farmer doesn't see any of this as separate elements. It's all integrated. So if we implement what you're talking about, we can make a big difference. I also want to emphasize from both Gambia, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, and also Sierra Leone, this concept of deployment of decentralized renewable energy. It only will work to reach the 900 million farming families in the world if we emphasize that. But if we emphasize that, we have 900 million farming family stewards of the land to turn around the problem I mentioned before. And then I think to finish, we had mentions of value chains. We had mentions of linking this to water security, another fundamental element of the convention. I think that it's important to emphasize that we have to have the private sector at the table throughout this. The blended approaches are key. And I'll finish with an offer to all of you. The United Nations Convention on Combating Desertification, COP17, starts on the 17th of August in Mongolia. Why don't we put this agenda into the action agenda of that COP and take your message to the next step? Or put it another way, let's turn the whole model upside down. Start with land and food, and then deliver on climate, biodiversity, and all the other goals we've talked about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that very adept summary of many of the points that we've discussed, and also the reminder that we need to be talking not only about forging connections between agri-food systems and renewable energy, but forging connections between those three Rio conventions, because that's exactly how we can get to our goals, both the shared prosperity goals and the decarbonization goals. So my very warm thanks to our two floor interventions, and very much to our panel for your insights and your perspectives. You've contributed a lot to think about and some very valuable best practices. And I would also like to thank IRENA and FAO for the hard work that they have done to organize this, this unique co-hosted session. So many thanks to both teams for this. It's now my honor to hand back to the chair, at least to Dominican Republic, a chair to close this session. So Dominican Republic, if you would please join us here on stage to close.
Thank you, Ms. Crane, for guiding this discussion. And let me also add my thanks to all of the speakers today for a very focused and comprehensive set of ideas, a diversity of approaches and inputs. Thank you all for a very interesting and dynamic discussion and for all your inputs. On behalf of the Dominican Republic, I thank all the ministers and participants for a focused and substantive dialogue. Today's discussion confirmed that scaling renewable energy and agri-food systems is no longer a future ambition. It is a present-day necessity for food security, economic resilience, and climate stability. And a number of shared conclusions stand out. First, renewable energy is now a strategic enabler of agri-food transformation. Across regions, ministers highlighted how energy costs, water scarcity, climate shocks, and fuel price volatility are directly shaping agricultural productivity, processing, and trade. Where renewable solutions are being deployed through decentralized systems, efficient irrigation, cold chain electrification, and integrated water energy approaches, they are already delivering tangible gains in resilience, affordability, and reliability. Second, success depends on policy coherence and leadership. The strongest examples presented today were not isolated pilots, but coordinated national efforts, where agriculture, energy, water, finance, and planning authorities work together towards shared objectives. Interministerial coordination is what allows innovation to scale, investment to mobilize, and public resources to deliver lasting impact. Third, innovation and digitalization, including AI, are accelerating change. Ministers underlined the growing role of data, digital tools, and artificial intelligence in improving efficiency, managing scarce resources, and strengthening climate resilience. AI-enabled forecasting, precision agriculture, and system optimization are helping to reduce risk, improve productivity, and support better decision-making. At the same time, there was a clear call to ensure that innovation remains inclusive and accessible, particularly for smallholder farmers and rural enterprises. Fourth, international cooperation is essential. No country can address these challenges alone. Shared learning, technology transfer, South-South cooperation, and partnerships with international organizations such as IRENA are critical to adapting solutions to local contexts while benefiting from global experience and scale. And finally, the challenge before us is one of delivery. The tools, technologies, and evidence, they're already available. What is required now is speed and scale. We have to move from pilots to national programs, and from commitments to bankable investment pipelines, and from ambition to measurable outcomes. The Dominican Republic strongly supports continued collaboration with IRENA, FAO, and partners. We encourage all member countries to sustain this momentum, strengthen cooperation, and act decisively, so that renewable energy becomes a cornerstone of resilient, inclusive, and future-ready agri-food systems. Thank you all for your active participation, and this concludes our consideration of Agenda Item 12.
Thank you so much. I believe we'll do a family photo now, dear panel. Thank you. Wonderful. Are we doing a family photo official? Yes, we are. Okay, very good. Thank you.